now to the final step in the process of memory, which is retrieval. Getting that information back out, right? Getting it so that we can remember it and get it to our conscious thoughts. And so we're going to talk about how we get it out, right? We use retrieval cues. Retrieval cues I want you to think of as like you were typing something into Google, or like I just did this the other day. I was trying to look for a specific email that I got, and so in my email I typed in the little search bar what it was about. And so that is a retrieval cue, right? You're using a specific stimuli in order to bring back previous memories, okay? So these are held, we hold memories in our long-term memory by web of associations. These associations we use then to retrieve memory. So what I'm going to have you do, in a blank space on your notes somewhere, write words that you think of when I give you, I'm going to give you a cue, okay? So I'm going to give you the search term, and then what you need to do are just write words that you think of, that come to mind, and then just space them out so that you have a little bit of room, okay? Are you ready? You might need to pause it when I put this so you can write them down. Word is sleep. Okay. Write all the words down that just come to your mind around sleep, kind of like you're creating a nice page web of this. Pause it for a minute. Write them down. Okay. So now you're going to draw lines to connect these. You want to try and connect the terms that you thought of in the order you thought of them, right? So if you thought of sleep and then an alarm clock and then you wake up and you're hungry, or an alarm clock and then, that happens on the weekdays. Oh, weekend, woohoo, freedom. Like try and connect them in the order that you thought of them so we can kind of see your spacing. Your web might look something like this, okay? This is an example of a retrieval cue. Sleep is your retrieval cue for all of these memories, okay? All of these memories. That's how we get things out of our long-term memory, except sometimes those retrieval cues are more than just words. Sometimes they're smells, sometimes they're tastes. They're sensory experiences, though, that we're going to either hear or experience that are going to bring up old memories, okay? So there's 3 different types of retrieval. The first is recognition. Recognition is being able to pull out or identify an item amongst other items. For example, a multiple choice test. This is testing your recognition, right? You can see those 4 or 5 items, and then you are able to recognize which one is correct based on the information you have. We also have recall. Recall, you must provide the information with only a little bit of info. For example, a fill in the blank test. You're given a little bit of information, that's your retrieval cue. You just have to recall it. You need to pull out that one word that belongs to it, okay? We also have our third type of retrieval is relearning. In relearning, we are actually testing to see how much time it takes for someone to relearn or learn a material a second time. We know that it goes quicker. We know that the first time you learn something, it takes you a really long time to process. The second time, it goes quicker, usually about 50% faster. And the third time, it goes even quicker. So this is another type of retrieval because you're pulling out that information again from long-term memory, and you don't need to relearn all of it. You just need to relearn the things that you did not keep in your memory. So next, I want you to write the word bear on your paper. How did you spell it? Did you spell it B-A-R-E? Probably not, right? You probably spelled it B-E-A-R. Why? Because of this picture that I gave to you. Without knowing what I'm talking about here and the definition of the words, how do you think this relates to the word priming? With just the example that I gave to you. Well, priming is the idea that we provide cues or clues that stimulate memories without really us knowing how they are connected, okay? These are predispositions. I predisposed you to writing B-E-A-R because I showed you a picture of a bear, right? If I would have shown you a picture of a naked person, maybe you would write down B-A-R-E because they're bare naked. Okay, this is the idea of priming. I have set you up to think a certain way without you really even knowing that's what I was setting you up to. So I was setting up your memory to pull out B-E-A-R of how to spell bear by just showing you a picture. You had no connection though of what you were going to need that picture for. It just kind of happened. Okay, so it predisposes us to interpret or recall information a very certain way. Okay, let's talk about some other ways of retrieval. So context effects improve our recall of specific episodes or information when the context, so the details of the location, present at encoding, and retrieval are the same. The idea is that you remember things better when you're in a similar location. Okay, so context, your surroundings. So when you've lost your keys or something, right? It's better if you retrace your steps because you can remember what happened while you were in those places. That's context effects. So how could we use this when you are studying for the AP exam or when you're taking tests? Well, you can study in a similar location or the same location that you're actually going to take the test. Okay, so closer to the end of the year, we're going to do some of our studying actually in the innovation wing because that's where you're going to take your test, your AP test. And so it's better for you to recall information when you're actually in the same area. Okay, that's why sometimes you have to look at the whiteboard to remember things that I've written on there, or you're like picturing your notes, right? Because it's better to remember things based on where they are in location. Bottom line, the more closely your retrieval cues match the form, basically, if you match the idea of where you were, what you were doing, the better you're going to be able to remember it. Some additional context effects are deja vu. This is that I've experienced this before. Basically, what this is that the current situation that you are in, the context that you are in, is so similar to a previous experience that you are unconsciously triggering the retrieval of that experience. Okay, so the context that you are in is so similar. So the people that are around you, the location that you're in, those are so similar to previous experiences that you think you've done that before. State-dependent memory is a type of context effects, and this is when our retrieval is most efficient when you're in the same state of consciousness that you were when they were formed. So states of consciousness, how tired you are, and then how drunk you are are examples, okay? So if you're really tired each day you come to class, when you take a test, you're actually going to be better at taking that test if you're tired because you want to be in the same mental state. Same applies to being drunk. If you're drunk and you get someone's phone number, you're going to remember it better when you're drunk than when you're sober. It's just how our brain works. We like those retrieval cues that are similar to each other. And then we also have mood congruent memory. This is our tendency to recall experiences that are consistent with one's current mood. So if you're happy or in a good mood, you're likely to recall happy or positive events. However, if you're in a bad mood, you're going to bring about sad or negative events. Okay, so this is why, number one, we enjoy listening to music that is similar to the mood we are in. It's also why when things are going really bad for you, all you can think of is all of the other times that things went bad. Okay, so if you come to your class angry every single day, maybe the previous class is really frustrating, then your recall is going to be better on a test if you're frustrated. So you're going to do better when you're in the same mood every single day, okay? Okay, another phenomena of retrieval is our tip of the tongue phenomenon. This is our inability to recall a specific word while knowing it's there. This usually happens with names or familiar objects. It's probably due to interference, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. But really this is happening during recall. So there's a poor match, or there's not a great match between the retrieval cues and the encoding. So you're like not in the right context, or you're not in the right mood, or whatever it might be. A lot of times this happens with like particular movies, right? It's that one actor who plays that one character, right, in that movie. It's right there. I can't think of it. An example would be looking at the Seven Dwarfs. Can you name all of them? Maybe not. And like you know them, they're there, but then who's missing? Well, in this picture, it's Dopey. Okay, so it's that one thing that's kind of right there on the tip of your tongue. This happens to me all the time, especially with words that I'm trying to do. And most of you help me out during class if I have that word right on the tip of my tongue, but I can't get it out.